Hello. Hello everyone. This is Rebecca, your favorite interior designer with Provision Custom Home Design out of Billings, Montana. So today I am working on a fun new project. I'm super excited about this. And this is actually kind of a unique one. It's kind of, if you have the time, it's kind of a really cool way to go about the process. I have this couple that came to me. He has one idea for a house. She has another idea for the house. So they're actually having me draw both versions, and then once we've done that, we're going to kind of take the best parts of each and see if we can mix it together, or we'll see if his idea and her idea are actually closer than they thought. And maybe they'll like one or the other and just go with that one. So this is kind of a fun process. I've already gone through, his design, which was a fairly industrial. It was basically a barn dominium or a shop dominium. It had, 6 garage bays. 3 of them were pulled through. The other 3 were just kind of standard depth. And then the house on the end. Her house, of course, it has a garage, but basically we're focusing on the house here. So definitely a little more of a traditional design. Additionally, his was a little bit more of an industrial feel, obviously being that barn dominium, steel construction, all of that. His or her plan is more rustic Montana, picture a cabin in the woods with the big giant wall of windows, the fireplace in the middle, the big stone stack, very open space in the main area, and then the private space is set aside elsewhere. So actually, if you look at the thumbnail for this video later on, you'll see just one inspiration image. So I had a nice Zoom meeting with this client the other day, and obviously with all the COVID stuff, Zoom is definitely the way that a lot of my meetings are these days. So tons of clients, we even break ground, and that's the first time I meet them in person when we're out there with the shovels. But I had a really nice meeting with her, and we went over kind of all the things that she wants in a plan. She really doesn't have a specific layout in mind necessarily, but we talked about different key points. So I've actually come up with this, which is my very loose adjacency sketch. So when I get started on a house, what I do is I draw up a very loose diagram, either of the shape that I want the house to be, or simply what rooms need to be near what. And then later, as I'm going to show you today, I'll go back in. There you go. I'll go back in and fill in those gaps and really fine-tune where those walls go. But this is just called an adjacency diagram, or bubble diagram sometimes. And it's basically thinking about how the space is going to be used and what needs to be nearby. So that is my loose diagram for this house, which is where I'm going to get started. So I've got my chief architect up here, and we're just going to hop right on in. So at the moment, we're not crazy focused on square footage, although I have a ballpark of what the husband's house idea was. But I'm not really trying to hit a certain number right now, which is kind of a nice, we'll start at the inside, we'll work our way out, and then if we have to make adjustments for budget, we will. So the way that I'm envisioning this house is kind of a big, long rectangle back here. And then sort of this public space. We'll come out a little further. And we might do something kind of like this. Kind of for the front. And then maybe do like a wraparound porch. And then the garage would end up being kind of back here. So I'm in this plan, generally when you look at floor plans on the internet, just the way that they're presented to clients is when you're looking at the floor plan kind of at the bottom of the screen, that's generally the front approach to the house, and then the top of the screen, that's the back of the house. This one's going to be a little bit different because what I've got here at the bottom of the screen is that dramatic, beautiful view, but not necessarily what you would see as you approach the house the first time. More than likely this house, they haven't bought the land yet, but if they're hoping to be somewhere within an hour of the city here, but a ways out. So having this beautiful approach is not necessarily what they're going for. They're looking for having the most livable space and taking advantage of whatever views they end up finding when they go to the process of finding a lot that they want to build on. So I definitely want to keep that in mind. So the little backwards way of, just from a graphic standpoint almost, but that's what I'm thinking here. And so I'm thinking the garage is either going to face back or face off to the side. I'm not entirely 100% sure. So we will play with that. I think what I might do for now is draw out something kind of like we'll just start with that. So we'll just say that's the garage. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But, because I'm kind of picturing maybe a hilly thing, which if they're closer to buildings, that'll be a little harder to find. But if they're a little ways out, we can definitely find them some nice hills. So ballpark, totally a mess, but this is my starting point. And right off the bat, I can tell you that the 20 feet back here is probably borderline. Alright, so first thing I do, whenever I do kind of this loose sketch, is I go back around the perimeter and just really quick clean up some of these dimensions. Now, right now these dimensions are totally random, made up, based on just very loose ideas of what I know certain things take up. So, for example, the garage. So I'm going to start right about here. I'm going to have this set back 4 feet from this corner. We're going to do a 3-car garage, so I'm going to shoot for, we'll do 36 for the moment. That might be just a smidgen big, but, and then we'll do 24 foot deep. Okay. Generally, and one thing that if you haven't already watched some of my videos, you'll definitely learn, at least from a very beginning standpoint until we fine tune it, as often as possible I try to go in 2-foot increments on my plans. And there's a few different reasons for that. Number one, nice even round numbers make so much more sense when you're trying to calculate space, when you're, no one wants to be on a job site and cut a board or cut a whole bunch of boards to, 19 foot 3.5. Like, that's just stupid. Unless there's a very intentional reason for that. Sorry, not stupid, but just, yeah. Anyway. So, but the second reason is building materials, building costs. When you go to the lumber store, what length does lumber come in? 2 foot. So if you're going to have to buy the 10-foot board anyway, why not use it? As opposed to having to purchase the 10-foot board, cut it down to 9 foot, pay the labor, lose the material, all of that. It's not like you buy just a continuous sheet of wood and cut it whatever length you want. It comes in fixed lengths. So anyway, enough about that. Let's do... So then I'm going to mirror this. Normally I go in a circle, but because of this angled wall, I don't want to mess with that as much. So I'm going to come over here real quick. And that's 30, oh wow, that's 30 feet wide. That's pretty good sized. I don't know that we need quite that much space. Let's change this to... yeah, let's do 14 foot for now. Okay, and then that makes that center angle nice even. Okay, perfect. So right now that's showing a little over 2,500 square feet. Now the one exception is this is actually garage space, so that does not count as finished square footage when most people are calculating this. So you'll see right here, use default, it excludes garages by default. Okay, so now that drops our living area down to just about 1,700 square feet, which is pretty adequate. I mean, we're looking at a main floor here with a great room, a kitchen, mudroom, pantry, laundry, all those important things, and then a master suite. We maybe will do a little loft, because if we do the center section as a vault, we could do that as a loft, or we could just not. And then we'll have stairs going down to a lower level. On the lower level, we'll have probably like a guest room, guest suite, 1 or 2 offices, and then another large family room. So 1,700 is actually probably a pretty decent number, I think. Okay, so really quick, let's get some garage doors on here, just so we know. I'm going to start with 9-footers. Yep, those are 9-footers. And again, I like my nice even numbers, so I'm going to start out 4 foot from that corner. I'm going to shoot for 2 foot there. Oh, I'm a little too close. Okay, so let's start with 2 foot here. Not seeing good enough. Oh, why is it not wanting to? Oh, I know why. I'm not. There we go. So now you can see I've got 3 foot down on the outer end and 2 foot. Actually, you know, I'm going to change that because I like. Otherwise, this corner over here can get a little bit crowded. Well, I'll leave it for right now. We'll adjust that later if we need. More than likely, there'll also be an exterior door somewhere along that back edge. Although for the moment, I don't know. I guess I'll just throw one in there real quick. And we'll do 3 foot to match. Okay. And then somewhere over here, we'll do a door leading into the house. Okay, so the garage is pretty much taken care of, out of the way. Now we can move forward to coming in here. So I'm going to move a couple of these dimension lines out of the way. The auto dimension tool kind of puts it where it wants. That out of the way. Perfect. Okay, so just getting rid of a few little extraneous numbers there that I don't need. Obviously, when I go back to when we get a little further along, I'll go back in and add the important dimensions, as obviously for construction you'll need to know that, but for the initial design concept, I don't need to know where all those are located. Okay, so moving on, let's change the direction of this door swing, because more than likely that's going to come over that way. So out here in this public area, or in this main, this is a house right here, this T-shaped space. Back in this corner, we need the mudroom, which is the first room where you come in from the garage, kick off your boots, hang your coat. Off to one direction, we need a laundry room. Off to the other direction, we need a pantry. And that pantry is going to be a pass-through, so you can exit the mudroom, go into the pantry, and then into the kitchen directly. When we exit the powder room, or the mudroom, so the laundry room, you'll go into the mudroom and then the laundry room. When we exit the mudroom, open to the whole main floor, we need a powder room adjacent to this whole grouping, so that any guests can do that. Now, the one thing that I didn't really think about too much in this plan is where the front door is. So if we approach the house from the back where the garage is, and if that's how you come in 9 times out of 10, you're going to come in through the mudroom, come into the house that way. We might not even do a traditional front door. I really don't know on this one. Maybe it would make sense to, I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. So, you know, maybe if this is the garage, maybe there's like a walkway or something that comes along over here, and then maybe on this side of the house, we'll have like a big wraparound deck. Maybe you come up onto the deck, and maybe over here we have an exterior door that is considered the front door that guests would come in. But, yeah, I didn't plan a front door. It's a process. Design is a process. So, alright then. So I'm actually going to remind myself of that. If I can type. And I'm just going to put this on a little note kind of on over here. There we go. And I guess technically that's not really that weird, because like I was working on an A-frame house, again, kind of out quite a ways outside of the main town here, and although the front of the house faced forward and there was a garage there, the front door, again, you basically walked between the separate garage and house down this little sidewalk around to the back, and then that back wall of the house that faced the river was where the front door was. There wasn't any other entrance to the house. So it's not that weird, I guess. And you don't have guests very often. You can have them come in wherever you want. Okay, so we'll leave that as a maybe. Okay, So now what we need is some interior walls. So the first one, like we said, is a mudroom. Off of that, we need laundry. Somewhere out here we'll do powder. From this mudroom, we need to go into some sort of a pantry. And then this space over here becomes kitchen. So, interior door. For the laundry, we'll probably do a pocket door. And because of washer and dryer, I always like to make laundry room doors 3 foot when possible, instead of your standard 30-inch interior door. And that was the other thing I think on his version of this plan that we were working on, or his house. Just because of the scale of the house, because the shop garage half of the house was so big, or 2/3 of the house was so big, the scale of everything was kind of exaggerated. So we actually made all of the interior doors 3 foot, which generally I do 30 inches for interior doors. But I think in this case we might actually go, I'm going to show it as 3 foot for now. And if we have to change it back, you know, if there's certain rooms where that doesn't make sense, we will. For example, the powder room, I probably will keep that at the standard 30 inches. So again, interior walls. So here, let's extend that. And then over here is going to be the master suite. And we can maybe either do an angle or we'll figure something out. I've got to figure out where the staircase goes in this house. And I'm all of a sudden kind of picturing like a central focal point staircase here. So for a laundry room, let's start to figure some of these numbers out. So we should probably have a minimum of 6 foot. Let's try 6 foot for right now. And as I've mentioned before, Chief Architect details the dimensions for interior dimensioning, framing to framing, not drywall to drywall. So that's why I added in that 6'1". Okay. So now we'll real quick throw in washer. Dryer. I don't make those touch generally because if you ever have to do maintenance on one of those, you don't want to have that too squeezed tight together. Let me see here real quick for laundry. With the sink, yeah. Okay. So let's zoom on in here. A little bit of space, but okay. Okay, and let's make that, oops, I don't want to move the whole wall, I just want to move that one section. So I'm going to break this. I'm going to do 8 foot, because then that gives me enough space that I can do and I want not like a freestanding utility sink, but a single basin. There we go. There we go. And then I was meant to change this in my template, but I haven't done that yet. When I'm working especially on conceptual design at the beginning, I hate having the cabinet labels on. It's just distracting. You don't need to see that information. The client doesn't need to see that information right away. we'll turn that back on when we're ready to look at cabinet layouts and stuff. I'm going to move that label back, and I'm going to label this as laundry. And most likely we'll do, let's see here, that's not a lot of countertop space for folding, so maybe she'll want that bigger. Yeah, maybe let's do 9 foot. There we go. Okay. There we go. So now we can do, we'll do like 2 upper cabinets here. And then we'll assume that there's a closet rod. Actually, here we'll do like a shelf with rod here on this wall. Well, there we go. So, alright. And actually that one will probably go a little shorter. Because really all you need up there is just a little bit of storage space for your soap and whatnot. And then now we've got a sink and small amount of folding space. There's space in the corner for hamper, washer, dryer, easy peasy. Okay, so now over here we've got mudroom. Well, maybe a little bit, I don't know. Okay. And for a powder room, I definitely don't want the door on this wall because that obviously opens right into the public space. So we want the door over here on this wall somewhere. Like that. And then do that. And by doing this, it keeps our plumbing close together too. And I'm going to put in an actual cabinet base and not a pedestal. I think you get a little more, well, you do get a little more storage that way. And being, of course, right there by the back door, you'll want to have toilet paper and all that kind of stuff. So we'll label this as powder. So some of these dimensions are ones that they just happen to fall nice and square. Others are things that, for example, you need a certain amount of space on either side of your toilet, so obviously you don't want to, you know, building codes, there's certain rules that you've got to stick to no matter what. You just can't. You can't have not enough clearance around a toilet. And then other dimensions I'm just doing because they look good within the space. So if we do this, and I was thinking a staircase kind of right here, but let's see how much space that takes up. Because this is the main floor, we'll have a basement, and like I said, maybe a mezzanine loft. So we'll pretend that we're doing the loft. I'm going to go over here and look at my tools. I just was playing around with this the other day. Instead of manually drawing everything. A U-shaped staircase. Counterclockwise means you'd be going up that way. I'm going to go clockwise on this one. Okay. So that's about what it's telling me, and I actually kind of like that. So what that does don't know. Actually, I might turn that. Let's turn that. No, I want all of it. But then we need to move it. If we do that, we have to move it at least 3 foot right here. About like that. So that actually sticks out pretty far here. The plus of doing that is that then my mezzanine runs that back half, and so I'm not taking away ceiling height from out there. Stairs are expensive, and to just go up for purely the purpose of a balcony might not be what this client is actually looking for. So I think I'm going to go back to the other way. I'm going to sorry. What happens when you use the arrow key to inch everything away? Okay, oops. There we go. Okay, so there's my staircase. So it means that you come in from the garage, the mudroom over here. You enter the space. Over here you've got kitchen. This is kind of hallway dining. You've got access to the powder room here, so maybe dining is more out here also. But that's a huge hallway. And then you've got this U-shaped staircase. If we do it like this, you go up here and then turn and come back up here. And then you really do just have this balcony, so it would be more of like just like one little extra little sitting area to take advantage of the beams. And it really wouldn't go past that line. So this back half of the house would just have a flat 9-foot ceiling. I'll have to play with that. I don't know. I might like that or not. Because then if you come up here, then you have to have at least that 3 feet at the top, so your balcony comes out to here. So maybe what that means, to get that closer to where I need it to be, is that the powder room might have to find a new location. Which is doable. I don't want to have to go around the staircase to get to the powder room. So let's try, scoot this over. Sorry, I get a little quiet when my brain starts turning. Okay. So let's line that up. There we go. All right, so now, that's not a bad, okay. That still fits a 2'6" door, which means we have our clearance necessary for the toilet. Oops, I don't want to grab the toilet. There we go. So now we can call this our powder room. So let's carry this. Oh, hold on, we don't want to do that quite yet. So let's grab this. Oops. industrial just a little bit. I'm going to drag this wall down like that. Okay. Oops. Gotta make sure you grab it all. All of it. Okay. So it's a little more tucked away than I'd originally thought, but I think it actually looks kind of cool. So you'd come in and you'd have this railing here to the side, so you'd be able to kind of see, because here you'd have this one going up to a balcony, but then right here you'd have that going down, kind of the U-shaped staircase. So as you come in here, this would be railing, half wall, but most likely railing, I think, for this style. So if I scooch this over just a little ways, because you don't want to feel crowded there. Okay. And then over here, I can do a 6 foot. Okay, so that, I don't know, maybe we'll 4'6". Because then if you're only using one door at a time, that's a little smaller than I generally would like. But that's why this is conceptual. So let's drop this to 12 foot. There we go. So now this could be a 6 foot double door. Sweet. So then this becomes the master suite. When we do this, we come up, and then we'd have this little balcony there. Okay, so now the only thing that I'm not too sure of here is the client didn't really want the kitchen to be too closed off. They want the kitchen to be open. So I'm going to really quick, I'm going to make that 26 foot. And part of the reason I'm trying to keep this symmetry is not only because symmetry has its benefits in terms of aesthetics, symmetry makes the roof a heck of a lot easier. So if I can make things easier on myself, I probably will. Okay, so we don't need that. Okay. And maybe instead of French doors, maybe we'll do a single door there. I'll wait and see what I end up choosing for out here, because no, actually I'm going to get rid of that and just do a regular, but again, 3 foot for our interior doors on this project. And then adjust my door swing. Okay, so now there is our master suite. And then what that does here is that opens this up more, so we've got more of an opening with this kitchen. So we do kind of have this little anteroom here that's sort of like the entry hall. It allows you to see what's going on, really take in the space. Alright, so hang on 1 minute here. Alright. Okay, so then we've got this. And so maybe here, instead of that, maybe we'll, there. That might make that feel just a little more comfortable. Yeah, so that way if you wanted to have little hooks on the wall or something here, it's not quite a straight shot. You're getting the laundry in there. You've got space over here. Probably this space right along here would be most likely where, say, bench and coat hooks. Okay. And then I want to make this a pocket door. Okay, so then this is our butler's pantry. Bare minimum is 7 feet, so that you have 3 feet of walkway in the middle, 2 feet of cabinet on one side, and a little bit more, about 2 feet on the other side. We've got a little extra space, so I might try and make this, let's see, where's that? Let's see what 7.5 foot looks like. Okay. Okay, so this is, there's not actually a one for mudroom, so I'll call it entry and manually change the name. So, yeah, so over here would be like a bench and coat hooks, maybe a few more coat hooks on that wall, something. Actually, this, here, let's do this. Bench and coat hooks on this wall, and over here we can do like a little vacuum closet or something. For some reason, they put the louvered doors on there. Actually, if that's, hold on. So it can be a broom closet / coat closet. 2 foot is the minimum. Okay. 2 foot is the minimum depth you need for that rod shelf combo. So you'll have a bench with coat hooks along this back wall, and then if you want to hang up ones like out of season stuff, whatever, you can do that there. Got a kind of a nice little a spot in the corner there, just so you've got some breathing room, and so that as you're carrying laundry and you're not knocking stuff over and feeling crowded or having to shut the door to the mudroom to get to the door of the laundry room. That's the biggest thing. Actually, then that needs to be a 5 foot door. Alright, so we're getting closer here. So then this is pantry, which again, there's, I don't think, oh, you do have a name for pantry. You used to have to call it, no, not open. You used to have to call it closet and then rename it as pantry, but, and we're going to call it butler's pantry. The main difference between a pantry and a butler's pantry is kind of the finish. A plain old pantry is simply a closet with lots of shelving, space for all your stuff. A butler's pantry is a little more functional in that it's usually got a few more outlets. It might have a small, like a little bar sink. People often will use the butler's pantry for sort of secondary food prep or having a coffee station or a toaster or things like that that they don't necessarily want out on their main kitchen counters, but that they do still use fairly frequently. So it's adjacent, it's right there, but it's not in the way. So what we'll end up doing here, most likely, at least for what I'm going to show, let's see here. Okay. Like that, 3 foot, okay. So what that does is it gives me, so the pocket door right here means that you've got to be real careful with electrical and plumbing. You can't have it where that cavity is going to be. So you'd have to have your outlet kind of closer in the corner here. Can't have any plumbing right over here. If we want to do like a little mini bar sink, that would have to be over on this side. So if we go to the library, we're already in the sinks.